Welcome back to Motorsport Club Affiliate Talk Show. In today's episode, we're talking about forced induction versus NA cars. But before we introduce our special guests, my name is Edwin.
My name is Wanjohi.
My name is Sean.
And I'm Edwin also, but Edwin Guy though.
So you guys, let's start. So Guido, tell us, what's the difference between forced induction versus NA cars?
Okay, so forced induction, basically it talks about turbocharged cars and supercharged cars. So these are cars whereby you find, let's start with turbocharged cars. So with turbocharged cars, the exhaust gases which are emitted from the engine, they spin a turbine which compresses air into the intercooler, into the intake. So you find turbocharged cars, manufacturers have made the engine in such a way they're smaller, and it basically, you get more power out of small engines. So that's why nowadays you find even a 1 liter car makes more power than a 1.5 liter car, and it's just because of a turbocharger. So when you talk about superchargers, superchargers are run by the engine itself, not exhaust gases or anything like that. They use a belt. So the belt, the supercharger is placed, mostly it's on top of the engine. I know some whereby it's on the side, but now the supercharger, it has turbines on the inside. So the turbines, when it's spinning, it compresses air and forces that into the engine. So more air, more fuel, more power.
NA cars.
Now NA cars, you know, NA cars, it's just air from the atmosphere. But you know, NA cars, you still find them making a lot of power. Like we had the 663, the old generation. It was a 6.2 liter V8, natural aspirated, and you find that made a lot of power. So there's always the fan base, the guys who always say NA cars are the best. There are guys like me who dream of boosted cars. So it's yeah.
So in short, it's trying to say that NA cars are the best out of it.
Well, NA cars, if you're a guy who just wants to get to work economically, service costs are minimum, I'd advise you to buy an NA car. But if you like a little bit of fun, the push of turbocharged cars, supercharged cars, maybe your pocket is a little bit friendly, turbocharged cars, supercharged cars are the way to go.
Then there's another thing, you know, like me, I'm a person of many things in the engine. I like seeing everything operating.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that if I have an NA car, I can't do anything. But I wanted to ask you about, can I combine both? Ikuje 2-in-1.
Yes, I don't know. In Kenya, mostly you find the Golf, the TSI brand Golfs, the 1.4 twin charged. You find it comes with a supercharger and a turbocharger. So from my understanding is, the supercharger, you know, superchargers barely have any lag at all.
Yeah.
So the supercharger will run when the car is at low RPM. So whereby if you want to overtake someone quickly or whatever, you always have boost.
Yeah.
But it reaches a certain RPM whereby there's like a bypass valve or something, whereby now which allows now the turbo to come into action.
But do you think they're reliable?
Okay, me I know twin charge cars in Kenya because of fuel and whatever, the 1.4s, ziko na shida na pistons. Pistons, you find the pistons melting or whatever, but you know cars, from my understanding, if you tune the car, when you get the car into the country, our fuel isn't the best. So you tune the car. When I peleka, yeah, tuning, so it becomes a bit better. Then I know guys with twin charge cars, most of them run V-Power, which is a bit more costly on them. I don't know why exactly, but
So, since you've explained for us the scientific terms of all this, now tell us the simpler terms of now what is turbo, what is NA.
okay, so turbocharged cars, these are cars whereby they have a turbo, and a turbo, how it works basically is, you know, a normal engine has 4 strokes. There's the intake stroke, the compression stroke, the ignition stroke, and the exhaust stroke. I don't know if it's called the stroke or something, but there's the 4. So now the exhaust, so now the exhaust, what happens is most of the time with naturally aspirated cars, the exhaust is just wasteful gases. So engineers came up with a way whereby, why not use the exhaust to make more power?
Oh, because when at the manifolds, it won't burn everything.
No. You see, exhaust gases, it just passes through the car. Hadi mwisho. It goes to the...
So let me ask you,
Yeah.
is it like in human form? Like somebody nyambazi talk us from the back?
Maybe in a way you can put it that way,
Yeah.
but let me try and make it a little bit simpler. So the exhaust gases, those are wasteful gases basically. You don't need them in a normal car.
Yeah.
So the turbocharger, all those gases are taken to a turbine. So the turbine, it's a long rod whereby there's the exhaust turbine and the inlet turbine. So the exhaust turbine spins together with the inlet turbine. So the inlet turbine now compresses air. You see that compressed air? That's no. Ooh, the compressed air now is what goes to the engine. And you know, for a car, listen. For a car to make more power, the more air you give a car, the more power it can make.
Yeah.
So that's why you find more fuel, more air, more power,
More power.
boosted. I don't know. I've tried making it a little bit simple, but
Have you understood, Gavin? Have you understood, Andre? With a 570.
So,
Ebu name the 4 strokes you've been told.
acha hizo maneno bana. Cheza chini. So it's the same way it will work on the, what do you call, on the supercharger, but it won't be using exhaust fumes.
exactly.
It will be using fresh air.
What?
It will be using,
No, also turbochargers use fresh air.
no, but
But
those are
oh,
fumes.
okay, listen.
get the
To
air
spin the turbo, it uses exhaust gases.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
For a supercharger, it
For a
will be
supercharger,
using-
to spin the supercharger, it uses the motion of the engine. It uses a belt, like you see how they have the fan belt.
Yeah.
So something like that. So it spins the turbine using that cable. So that's why that whining sound. Wee. Yeah.
But where does the upepo come from?
Go see upepo inatoka nje.
So upepo inaingia na nje.
Bana.
Yeah.
Through.
Atmospheric air.
So it could just from the front place like
So you know when you're driving, air comes into the engine.
Yeah.
So now that air is what's compressed.
so even me ask,
Yeah.
then why put it
Unaona? Unauliza swali za ujinga.
So what?
So where do you guys put the front mounts if upepo is coming from?
Okay.
That's different. Very different.
I
But
just
let our
understand to
namesake.
understand. You know, I'm just trying to
Ebu explain to you.
Okay.
See how Edwins
know-
are smart. See how Edwins are
Bana
smart.
inajaribu kutuonyesha there is you and there is
No, mate. I don't want to talk to. Cut. I don't want to show people how my vocabulary is very.
So
Yeah, akili ni nywele.
you want me to talk about the front mount
yeah,
intercooler?
like how
or-
does it help? If somebody's getting natural air from the bonnet,
Okay. Now you see when I talked about how the exhaust gases, it spins the inlet turbine to compress air. You know, compressed air becomes very hot, and you know, hot air is not dense. For you to make power, you need dense air. So now that air is routed to the intercooler. So that's why you find like cars with like the Evo, it comes to the front mount intercooler. So now the compressed air goes into the intercooler. It enters into the intercooler. So
When
as you're
it's hot.
when it's hot now.
But when it passes the other side.
So the intercooler works like a radiator. How hot water comes in one side, then it comes out cooling the engine. Now it's the same concept whereby now hot air enters on one side through the intercooler fins and whatever. The air is cooled, making it more dense. Then that's what's directed into the engine, but it's still under pressure. Yeah,
so
that's the function of the intercooler now.
that's the function of the intercooler.
Yeah, you can still run a car without the intercooler, but you know now compressed air is very hot, so you won't make much power out of it.
So an intercooler, like how much power does it bring to a car? Is that
From my understanding, intercoolers should come stock on cars. Because you see like how STAs come with top mount intercoolers, Evos come with front mounts. I think GTS also come with front mount intercoolers, but they're very small. So yeah, it comes from factory, but yeah.
So my namesake, which ones are easier to make power from? Superchargers, turbochargers, or NA cars?
Okay, for NA cars, it might be a little bit more difficult to make power out of, because you'll need to build the engine completely, you know, compression, all those things. But with a tune, you can get more power out of it, but not too much power out of it. Turbocharged cars and supercharged cars, I think personal choice, I think turbocharged cars are easier to make power out of. I've seen supercharged cars, like you guys know Leroy. You know Leroy? Leroy, if you guys don't know who Leroy is a car owned by Cletus McFarland. He's based in USA. So he had a supercharged car and he built it. I think he made like 800 horsepower out of it, but he switched it up. He put twin turbos on his car. So, but for me, I think you can make a lot of power out of a supercharged car, but I think it's a bit easier to get power out of a turbocharged car. But to make more power out of a turbocharged car, you need to build the engine completely. It's not as simple as just putting in a new turbo.
Yeah.
There's more that goes into it than just sticking a bigger turbo. Yeah.
Alright, so like you said, you're talking about the TSIs and stuff, and you can see like most guys in Nairobi have TSIs.
Yeah, it's a very common car. The Golf Mark 6 TSI, especially with lady drivers like you.
Me? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what advice can you give these guys before buying a TSI? What advice can you give?
What is trying to say? What advice can you give to somebody who wants a turbocharged car?
No, because you've seen TSIs are really common. But what advice can you give? Since, I think guys have seen you in the review, about the GTA and stuff. So I think here's a bit.
But that wasn't me, that was my brother.
I think it's not fair. Edwin can just give guys a guideline on what TSI is more preferable. Yeah.
I think what you're trying to ask me is what are the advice guys on what to buy as per their preference.
I'm talking about the VW guy.
You're talking about the
VW, yeah.
Okay, let me tell you something. Many guys I know with the 1.4 TSI, the twin charge one, these guys always suffer. Piston issues, that's the main cause, that's the main problem, and most of them have to run on V-power to avoid the pistons from melting or something like that. So I think what I tell guys is, if you're to buy this car, take it to a tuner, tune the car. This is how you can tune the car to make less power, to maybe avoid all these issues, or you can tune it for more power. I don't know how exactly it works, but what I was told is if you tune the car using a tuner, it shouldn't cost you much, but it will prevent all these issues from occurring. Yeah.
So, Sean anashinda akikwambia you're focusing
on the
I know you
1.4.
guys have focused on the 1.4, man. Like, hata umenipoteza kidogo niuze gari la 1.4. But now, what would you prefer between the NA, turbo, na supercharge, or nataka yote ikuje yote two in one?
Okay. Now it's basically I'm giving advice on what to buy.
Yeah.
So I'll put boosted cars under one category and NA cars on one category. So if you're a student, your main agenda is just driving to school, or you're working in town or somewhere, and the only reason you want a car is just to drive to work, you want cheap maintenance, you don't want to spend too much on fuel, buy a 1.5 liter NA car, 4-cylinder. Fuel, you won't suffer on fuel, because Nairobi, to be honest, most of the time in Nairobi, either if you're going to work or school or coming from work or school, you'll be in traffic.
True.
So to avoid much hassle, it's better if you just own an NA car. But not everyone likes NA cars. There are guys who like boosted cars. So if you're to get a boosted car, it's a good choice. Get it by all means. But the only thing you should know is with boosted cars, the maintenance is a little bit higher. You might suffer from higher fuel consumption, especially in traffic. Then one thing about boosted cars is, boosted cars, turbocharged cars, they're actually meant to be more efficient than NA cars. But you might find it in such a way that if you're driving a boosted car, and you're trying to get good economy, you'll be driving very slowly. It will be a very boring drive.
You don't enjoy the power.
You won't enjoy
You'll
it.
be wasting the fuel.
Yeah, and for turbocharged cars, for you to get the bit of enjoyment from the car, you have to kanyaga kidogo. Turbo
Kuma yote.
Yeah. So that's why you find most guys with turbocharged cars, the consumption is bad. You see, But you might also find guys with turbocharged cars or boosted or supercharged cars whereby they have good consumption. And that the only reason they have good consumption is good service and they don't speed. And it's very hard not to speed in a boosted car because 1 minute you're driving, some random guy cuts you off, some matatu just cuts you off, so yeah.
So, guy though, which one do you think is more enjoyable to drive? First induction or any?
First induction, definitely. But to be honest, first induction cars, they're a lot of fun to drive. you drive an electric car. So no, I can't even use the example for this electric car. With boosted,
boost.
yeah, no, listen.
Yeah.
He has a lot of torque. But you see, with us,
What?
if you want to start,
But if KPLC, decides to zima their lights, how does it get torque?
now with boosted guys, if you want to overtake someone, let's say you're trying to overtake, then it's like on a corner or something. It's a little bit risky, but you just want to go.
Yeah.
Then immediately you start boosting off. Now the turbochargers come in. Then you find a car coming. So, it's like you've wasted the power.
Yeah.
Because you've already spooled up the turbo, you wanted to go, then a car comes, you have to stop again, then you have to be ready again, you see.
Yeah.
But you see, with NA cars, you just go.
So
There's no lag
So you
or
trying to tell
anything.
me with electric cars, just
Not electric cars, NA
Oh,
cars.
NAs.
Yeah.
So, but you were talking about the electric car.
Now we see with electric cars, you guys always have torque.
Yeah, we have.
How?
Huge.
Just explain,
Because
explain to the viewers how.
let me tell you.
Electric motors.
There's, ulifanya physics. Ulipata nini? Usifiche? Sasa acha nikwambie. That power is not wasted. You see, power from the engine is wasted when all the heat, the function. Like any kind of steamer, your motor, the same 1000 watts I'll get is the same 1000 that will be produced on the nini.
So
on the tire.
On the
So you're
tire.
trying to tell me, if you add one more battery in your car, you get more torque.
Oh, yeah, Jesus. Is it possible to add batteries like a...
You
Motors.
buy another motor.
Like,
A
see,
stronger one.
you see how whatever, you see how the electric motor inakuanga, like see with Teslas, you find like, you see how with us, you see how us we have the rev range.
Yeah.
So you might find like your optimum power is like at 4,000 RPM or whatever, but see with the electric motors, the power is always there.
Yeah.
So unakanyaga, and the car is always ready to go. But see with motored vehicles, you have to give it time for the optimum range for the power. So you might find like most cars you find
So in
like
a
at
load.
3,000 RPM is when now you get all the power, 5,000 RPM. But with electric cars from 0 RPM, you have everything.
Sean, have you ever seen this YouTube channel for some Tesla racing versus other cars?
Yeah, I've seen.
It's always winning.
But the thing is, let's say, okay, may I enjoy the boss life.
Yeah.
Just saying. So then I'm called out and I took an electric car.
Well,
So you nyama people and you go.
will nyama when
So you
you,
want to tell
Okay, not a Tesla. If you have a Tesla, hey, you can nyama many people.
But if you have
it's a very fast car.
okay, let me tell you. If
Especially off the line.
but the thing is, if you have a hybrid, there's a point it will reach, it will cut that power.
If you cut the power.
Yeah. So you won't be having all
So
that.
you're telling me customers napotea.
Because that's the side thing. So the customers napotea.
Acha hizo bana. On the point. 50 by inapotea. Lakini
Ni customer tu inapotea, si ndio?
ni kama sasa niko na lag.
Oh, okay.
Is that okay? Niko na lag.
Yeah, whatever you
Lag.
think.
lag tu unajua ka net. Haya.
So Edu, now since we're coming to the sorry. So Gaido, since we're coming to the end of the show, now like you've told us about the what's more economical in traffic, what's nini, like what can you tell the guys watching this YouTube channel, like what's the best option for them when they're starting?
Okay, I'll even give you my own experience because I've not always owned a turbocharged car. So when you're looking for your first car and you're a student, I'll focus on students.
Yeah.
I'll focus on students, okay? If you're a student, you're focusing on you're trying to buy your first car, probably it's your parents financing you.
Yeah.
You don't want to strain them too much. buy an NA car. It's good on fuel. It's very cheap. It's very cheap to run. A 1300cc Mazda Demio, 1300cc Honda Fit, 900cc Vitz or something. But you'll buy this car and you will realize how slow you are. But mind you, not everyone likes speed. Me personally, I like driving a little bit fast. Not over 100 kph obviously, but just add 100 too. So but see, without
so you're just clarifying 20 SA.
yeah,
Just say the 100.
yeah, kwa highway.
Highway ni 110.
Hata 100, mimi niko sawa 100. Sijaishikwa hii mambo ya speed. But anyway, if you're trying to buy a fast car and you're on a budget mostly, just buy a 1.5, 1.3 liter 4-cylinder NA car. No stress. You won't have any stress. Service is going to be very cheap for you. Fuel is going to be very cheap for you. You know, you'll see guys with boosted cars, you think, oh, you admire them, but them, they also admiring your fuel consumption. Yeah, you
So
see.
that's how guys look at me.
Yeah. You. Which car do you drive now, actually?
Oh, yeah.
Ulinunua gani sasa?
Oh, tips and tricks.
Yeah.
I upgraded, bro. Next week. Oh, by the... You know, I told my driver to park it nicely. Yeah. Tips and tricks. Another one.
So now you might find Sean Paul, people admire Sean Paul's car, but Sean Paul secretly admires the lady who drives a 1.5 liter car, the guy who drives a 1.3 liter Vitz. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah, because economy, but you know, fuel prices are, as we speak, it's 116 per liter. That's crazy.
Yeah. True. True, man.
Yeah.
So, manze, Edu?
Yeah.
Guy though?
Wanagaibo.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming.
No, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed myself today.
Thanks, man.
You've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
Enda urudie form 4.
Yeah, physics.
Please.
Physics.
Yeah. Yeah. Ama wali soma biology.
Hebu sema hivyo tuoneshe
Physics
mwalimu.
nilikuwa nalala. High school asalaleni. Yenye jokes. So
And that's why you got a D. D in KCSE.
you. Alright, till next time, my guys.
Thanks.